And welcome back to yet another Buffalo Bills pregame show. It's your friend Randy here, and I'm joined this week by both Dan and Jared. Gentlemen, so glad to have you here for the most unique Buffalo Bills pregame show that I have been a part of in all of our time here. Way more important than the game that's upcoming, which is usually our focus. Way more important than the game that was behind us, which is usually mentioned at least, is the well-being of a human being who plays for the Buffalo Bills, who is a member of the organization with whom we devote so much of our time and energy and, our thoughts. And so it has been a huge relief's not the right word, but the outpouring of love from all of Western New York in one person's direction has been overwhelming. And I guess just a further proof of the one Buffalo strong, like we unite around, like no one circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. There's no secret as to what's happened with the organization. Jared, you had a chance the other night for us to talk. So Dan, I'm going to start with you. Do you have any immediate reactions to the injury to Damar Hamlin?
First off, I just want to say, my thoughts and prayers out to Damar Hamlin and his family. For watching that game is one of the scariest things I've ever seen on TV. Something that just, when you're watching a game like that and it's supposed to be fun and, there's all, great rivalry and this and that, and it just gets put aside so fast. And, and like you said, Randy, I think the way that Western New York Bills fans and even the entire NFL has come around, it's been really awesome to see. And, especially in a place like Buffalo and even Cincinnati, where, it's more than football. We always talk about how that, it's a community thing with Buffalo and, the way that, we look at these players and, coming around for them in this moment, I think is really important. And I think Buffalo's and the entire NFL has done a great job with that.
Jared, have you had time to think about it? Any knee-jerk, anything beyond your knee-jerk reaction to the experience of having seen what we saw?
The only thing I did between when we saw each other last and now is I actually went back to our first video about Damar Hamlin, just to see what our initial thoughts of him were. And we were already talking about in our draft review that this was a good guy. We were talking about how he was willing to do anything for the team once he came on. I think the expression we used was, "I'll be like the guy bringing out the waters," or something like that. Like already, like so seeing that was just a positive thing. And then the media itself, like positive video after positive video. There was a video, I guess, where he was on the Chris Brown show, WGR, talking about, or WGR 550, talking about like the Dane Jackson injury, and how he felt life was so precious and everything. And just I haven't heard one negative thing about this guy. And I know this is not a time anybody would ever say anything negative about him, but just that added thing I thought makes this whole thing just very special as well.
Having had some time to think about it myself, the sporting events, sports in general, is where we turn to get an escape when we're going through difficult times, whether it be people in our family going through, lost our families, our friends who are hurt. And so when we see the people who we turn to for that escape go through those difficulties, it's hard not to empathize with the Hamlin, with his family, with the team. Seeing our heroes, our sporting heroes, torn up emotionally on the sidelines, just reminds you that they're human beings too. Outside of the emotional experience of the Hamlin injury, there is implications for the league. Jared, I'll get you started on this. Assuming the game is not made up, the game is suspended indefinitely. How does that scenario play out for Bills, for Chiefs, for the Ravens?
Well, it's really hard to say. That's a very good question. I can only tell you what I've seen, but I don't know what the league's going to decide upon conclusion of this video. If you go to the ESPN playoff machine, they've literally taken the game out. Like you can't even choose a win, loss, or tie for that. So from that vantage point, it appears that right now, best guess, they're going to cancel the game in general. So what happens if that happens? That means they got to go based off of percentages. So you get into a very crazy scenario. Number one, if the Chiefs win next week, which seems extremely likely, they're going to get the number 1 seed. So that's kind of unfair to the Bills that they never had a chance to like defend having the number 1 seed. But who it's really unfair to is other teams more than us. It's unfair to the Bengals. The Bengals had an opportunity to beat the Bills week 17 and have that tiebreaker. If they cancel the game, they don't have that opportunity. They get stuck in 3rd place. Now I said 3rd place because if that game is not rescheduled, they don't have an opportunity to lose to the Bills either. Meaning that when the Ravens play the Bengals this week, and if the Ravens win, they still don't get the division because they have 6 losses, whereas the Bengals have 5. So you have this weird scenario right now, currently as we're recording, where it seems like it's going to be Chiefs, Bills, Bengals, because there's not another time to do the game. And I don't know if we're going to get into this. I'm curious what you guys have to say. And I know it seems unlikely that this will happen, but it just seems fair for everyone involved. And I didn't even go through all the scenarios with the Patriots and Dolphins yet, but it just seems fair for them to have the Bills Bengals game 2 weeks from now when all our minds are clear and fresh and ready to go. And then everyone else gets a bye, but who cares? Because the Bills and the Bengals kind of have a bye this week. So everyone's even at that point. Everyone played their games. You move the Pro Bowl week to after the Super Bowl. You keep the Super Bowl the same, and you go. I believe that would get rid of the 2 weeks between the championship game and the Super Bowl. But again, that's another who cares. That's how it used to be done. So that's basically what we're looking at. Neither scenario is good, though. I mean, I think that's.
Dan, I was going to talk to you about the possibility of there being a Week 19 game created. Do you think either of those scenarios is more likely, in your opinion, a cancellation of the game altogether, or like a artificial creation of a Week 19 in order, to remove the Pro Bowl week?
Yeah, so it's an extremely tough situation, and especially with a game being on Monday night, that's one less day to decide. Now it's Wednesday night, they haven't made a decision, and it's, it seems like they almost have to do something in the next couple of days. I really think that, my assumption is the game will just get outright canceled, just because I think that is a tough ask to move, move the playoffs back, the entire playoffs, just for one game. And it's just a tricky situation. It is also a tough ask, to ask the Bills to fly back there, play on the same field where it all happened. It'll definitely be interesting to see what they do. And, it's going to be even that game on Saturday, that first game, I believe it's Chiefs Raiders. That first snap of football, I think I saw someone say, the first snap of football is going to be really scary just, after all that's happened. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do.
My follow-up question is even more interesting because you believe that the game is most likely to be canceled. Then how likely do you think it is that the upcoming game against the Patriots is postponed or canceled? Or do you think that's not within the realm of possibility?
So I do think that, the Bills practicing today, I think that's a sign that they will play. That's not guaranteed or anything. But I do think that means that they are possibly, they're kind of getting back to it a little bit, it seems. Obviously, it's going to be really hard to go out there, especially if the status of Damar Hamlin is still uncertain. There's a lot going on there. But in the case that they did forfeit, and if anything, another variable to that is that it would almost negatively affect New England more in their playoff chances as opposed to the Bills, because the Bills, have already won the division. They're already in the playoffs. So that's another interesting variable to look out for.
Jared, any opinion on the possibility of this upcoming game not occurring as well?
Yeah, so I mean, kind of like what Dan was saying, they did have their practice today. They had meetings, no media availability. So that kind of makes me think that they're doing what the league has already set out, which is that as of right now, they said no changes to week 18. They never said like week 18 is happening 100% go. They just said no changes. So again, anything can change. But the fact that they did a walkthrough though does make me kind of question how ready they're going to be for the game. I mean, like, how do you get ready for this game? Like I think back to, and I think I may have said this in our thing a couple nights ago, Randy. Like I think back to 9/11, they gave the whole league like a week off. Like week 2 got moved to the end of the season. Like it just seems like everyone just needs to like have a moment, and just like, and 2 days later you're preparing for a game. Like no real time off, and it's just. I don't know how you mentally prepare for something like that. Both teams, not even just the Bills, but the Patriots. Dan, I sort of disagree with your take on the forfeit because my point of view is unlike what's happening with the Bengals game. And again, this is just an opinion. I really don't know. But if the Bills forfeit and the Patriots agree to it, like that means the Bills lose. And then the Patriots win because again we forfeited, we bowed out. So that would give the Patriots the playoff berth and essentially would kick the Dolphins out, which ironically strengthens the chance that this game is not a forfeit because that just seems like the most unfair thing that anything could happen to a team. Like I don't care who the team is, you can't just say, oh, this other team forfeited, so now you can't get in the playoffs. Like that can't happen. So, I mean, I think that's what it's going to come down to in the end. They're going to see these scenarios and be like, wait, we can't mess around with this, or whatever decision they make.
This is almost a throwaway question, Jared, but what if Bills Bengals week 18 and then Ravens Patriots for their playoff lives? One game for seeding, the other one for the playoffs, more or less.
Like when do you mean, Randy? I'm sorry.
For this week, instead of us playing the Patriots, we face the Bengals this week, and the Bengals face the Ravens.
So they shift like week 18 ahead. You mean?
Well, you just we play the Bengals to decide the top who like home field advantage what's going to happen. The Bengals and the Ravens and the Patriots are playing for their playoff lives, against each other instead of divisional opponents.
Oh wow, I don't think they'll do that. That's a very interesting idea. I see what you're saying there. That's true. Yeah, give them a head-to-head matchup, and then I don't think that works. I think that adds a whole other layer that I'm not even thinking of, Randy. That's a very interesting scenario, but I don't think they're gonna. No, the answer is no. They're not gonna do that. I'm like 99.9% sure. You get credit if they do it because
if they do, we got video evidence right here. All right. In the off chance this game goes down as scheduled, or in the likely event this game was scheduled, whichever it may be, Dan, there are some injuries the Bills have to overcome. We've been injured all season long, so that's not necessarily new, but we have some concussion and obviously Hamlin's injury in the secondary again. Who is it that steps up to face off against New England?
So, obviously we do have a lot of injuries in the secondary right now, and regardless of what happens, it is going to be an extremely tough task for the Bills to have their mind on this game. With that being said, they might want to play the game for Damar and, have that kind of inspiration. But who knows? It is going to be extremely difficult for them to go out there. I'm going to be optimistic on this one. I'm going to say that they're going to, have a more inspiration, and Bills are going to pull it out here. It's going to be a low-scoring affair, and I'm going to go with 20-16 Bills.
Jared, who's the hero for the Bills in this game when it happens?
Oh man. Allen. I don't know how. It's always Allen. He's doing something each time. Bull rushing the entire defense, what have you. I just think the Bills are going to be emotionally spent. I hate to say it like that. I think the whole city is emotionally spent. I think if this was the playoffs, they win pretty easily, but after only a few days with virtually no preparation, I just don't see anything happening. We're also down to our third string free safety now with both Hyde and Hamlin out, and Siran Neal is probably going to play for Taron Johnson. Secondary's depleted, and you can't shift Elam to the safety. So, Cam Lewis back there, Jaquan Johnson, I don't really have any confidence with. So that's going to be a challenge in the playoffs, but we're not quite there yet. Score for this game. I'm unfortunately, I never had this down until now, but I'm going to go with the Patriots, 20-10. I just, the Bills, hypothetically speaking, yes, they still have the whole, they could get the first round bye possibly, and that's still there. But I think they're just going to be emotionally spent, especially if they haven't figured out the Bengals game yet.
All right. Josh Allen will certainly do everything he can when it comes time to game time. We know that. I see the offensive line and the running game really just pounding down a New England team that doesn't have a whole lot to play for. I'm not sure Belichick has been really wanting to win so much. He knows his team isn't built for a long run of the playoffs, and he's better off with a higher draft pick anyway. So if there is a forfeit, it might be on the Patriots side, and not officially, but just mailing it in. So I say the Bills in an emotional need and Belichick's desire to be able to watch, film in the offseason. The Bills rout them 33-13. So it's been a wacky week when it comes to thinking about the Bills and what to say to y'all. I personally am so grateful to have this this way to communicate, this way to get these feelings off my chest. When the game happened that night, I texted Jared and said that we got to get out and say something. So Jared, Dan, and everyone who pays attention, everyone who subscribes, likes all the videos, thank you all so much for being here and part of it, being part of our little Buffalo Bills pregame community, because it gives me a chance to work our way through these motions together. And no matter what, the Bills are in the playoffs. There will be more games, so we'll be back to do more videos for you, probably in person very soon. So until then, thank y'all so much, and we'll talk to you very soon. Bye. I got nothing to throw.